Welcome to The Last Track, where we help people showcase the last track of their life story in their final wishes. I am your host, Brian Norris, the co-owner of Bateman Funeral Home in Newport, Oregon. Just like a song can bring you back to a day, a time, and a memory, so too can a well-planned service. A celebration of life. And the main reason we're talking about that is because people, the more I talk to people, the more that they've been moving more and more away from traditional types of services, because they don't want to have what they view as kind of a stuffy, somber, sad type of occasion. So they've been moving more towards celebrations of life. And I always like to say a celebration of life is 80% talking about the person and 20% talking more on the spiritual elements of the person's life, but 80% on what they did and what they accomplished and what they meant in life, and maybe what they left as the mark as they left this life. So talking about a celebration of life, main thing is that you're focusing on that person, the life, and what they love most. And so with that, when you're thinking about the venue for the celebration of life, try to wrap in that venue what that person, what meant the most to that person, or what that person did. You know, if they were a fireman, you might even look about having a celebration of life at a fire station or at a park outside the fire station if they say no. But I mean, really, it's trying to celebrate or bring that person's life into the service, into the celebration of life. For example, we had a person that had worked 30 some years as a letter carrier. So when we had that person's service, we actually called and had a person from the postal service come into the celebration of life. He was dressed in the old attire of a letter carrier. He had the leather bag across his chest, and in that bag was the urn. And he came walking into the chapel, took the urn out, placed it on the table, turned around with the clipboard, and had the widow sign for the package. And everybody in the chapel loved that, because that absolutely represented who that person was. 30 some years as a letter carrier. Everybody in the neighborhood knew him. And so everybody understood that part of the celebration of life. And that's the key to having an amazing celebration of life. Another one that comes to mind, a husband and wife love to go to different barbecues and parties, and they always carried with them a red Solo cup. And that on the Solo cup, they had their name written with a Sharpie. And so during the service, we again I was talking to the widow, and I said, I understand that you and so loved to go to parties, and you always had a red Solo cup. And everybody in the audience started laughing. And so we had the funeral assistants come out, and I said, now everybody's going to get a red Solo cup. And we passed around black Sharpies, and everybody wrote their names on a red Solo cup. And while that was going on, we all sang the song, Red Solo Cup, You Fill Me Up, Let's Have a Party. Again, specific. It was exactly what the person that passed away, it brought that person's spirit and feeling into the service. That's what's really important about having a celebration of life. It can be officiated. Normally, they're officiated by what's called a celebrant. And a celebrant is somebody who may or may not have official training, and they officiate and help the service move along. A celebrant has the skills of being able to interview family members, get personal stories, and really personalize the service. It can also be done by an ordained minister, a pastor. Just make sure that you're telling that person that you want a celebration of life. It can be done by a friend. If there's a friend that's comfortable being up in front of a group of people and can really help bring out the stories of that individual, then that's who can officiate that as well. It includes reading of a eulogy, and I don't mean a sterile eulogy of so and so was born on this day and so was born in this town, and then it's not the reading of what was put in the newspaper. Okay, that can be what's done, but I would tend to say that a celebration of life will take the eulogy and flush it out into a life story. It's not just he was born here, he was raised by these people, and then he died here in this town. It's a story. It's a story of that person's life, and it should read, and it should be, and it should feel like the story of that person's life. And ideally, and I'm pretty passionate about this, can you tell? Ideally, if it's done right, and let's say the celebrant didn't ever even meet the person in this life, if it's done right, that celebrant should have people coming up to them at the end of the service and saying something, "Oh my goodness, how long did you know Charlie?" And that means it was done right, because the celebrant didn't get up and say, "I didn't have the opportunity of knowing Charlie." That's not how you do a celebration of life. It should be talking about Charlie as if he knew Charlie and was a best friend of Charlie, and that is a celebration of life. Did I mention that they need to make sure that it's done not like a droning eulogy? It should be a life story. Bring life to that. And another way to bring life is check with your funeral provider. Families can also do these themselves. I mean, there's ways of making videos and putting photos into videos, and family members do that all the time. There are professional ways of doing it as well, and they shouldn't be an arm and a leg. It should be pretty inexpensive. If you're being charged more than, let me just throw out a number. If you're being charged more than, say, $70, $80, $90 for one video, you're being charged too much. The thing that if you do it yourself, and please don't think that I'm saying don't, because families, if we've had videos come in that were just amazing, done by families, and that's good, because it helps the family through the grieving process, and it's good. But make sure if you're doing a video in your celebration of life, please make sure that you go in a couple days early to the funeral home if you're having it at a funeral home, and make sure it works. Make sure it works with their sound system. I've unfortunately, we've had people come in, and we make it a policy here that if the family is doing the video, that they need to come in a couple days early, or at least email us the video so that we can put it in our sound system and make sure, and our projector, and make sure everything works perfectly, so that they're not walking in on the day of the service and they're not plugging in a thumb drive or something into the laptop, and then it doesn't work. That is, I can tell you, it makes me want to throw up when that kind of thing happens, because you want the family to have that video. So if you're doing it yourself, check with wherever you're going and make sure that it's working a couple days in advance before you actually have the service. But a celebration of life with a video, oh my goodness, it's one of the most powerful things to bring the spirit and the feeling of that person into the celebration of life. And if you have photos, you use the photos. Nowadays, if you have little short videos, especially on phones of people, make sure those videos get into the video. Put the video into the video. Because if you have a picture and then the picture comes alive with the person actually speaking at their own service, it's amazing what it can do in a service. Healing instantly starts happening, and it's a beautiful celebration of life. At the celebration of life, you do have the option of having the deceased, the body present. They can be in a casket. They can be on a cot with a quilt over the top of them. They can be present at the service as well. And that's something to talk to your funeral provider about. That again, it doesn't have to be here. It could be in our chapel. It could be in a church chapel. It can be at a park, and it can happen at a park. And so the body or the urn can be present at a celebration of life. Make sure you talk with your funeral provider about that and how to do that, so that can happen if that's something that the family wants to have. Thank you very much.